Phase 6 of Season of Discovery means 2 new raids with brand new difficulty modes, new world boss dragons, new Blood Moon rewards, and of course the legendary Scarab Lord grind. So to get the most out of Phase 6, you'll need gold for consumes, gold for resistance gear, and of course gold to bribe people for Scarab Lord. The problem is, according to my recent poll, only 14% of you have made any recent Phase 6 investments. Luckily, there is still time to make big investments that'll pay off throughout Phase 6, so let's get to it. First, we're talking investments to make huge profit with the war effort before it's gone in a flash. Then we're covering big consumes, big raid gear you can invest in to make really big profit as well. So starting out, we've got the war effort to talk about. Insane profit potential here, and it all starts November 21st at 4 p.m. Eastern on North American servers. So to recap, back in 2019, simple idea. In order to unlock Encourage, your server had to supply this massive stockpile of items to war vendors in Orgrimmar and Ironforge. The idea was that prepared players, they had stacks of items like Rainbow Fin Albacore, Runecloth bandages, ready to turn into these war vendors. The catch is that every single item you turned in had a cap of, say, 400,000 for Runecloth bandages, 19,000 for Fire Blooms, 24,000 for Thorium bars. That meant that players looking to profit from the war effort would have to rush to turn in these items really fast, so they wouldn't be stuck holding a bunch of worthless items like linen bandages. So as for how players actually profited though, the reward for turning in the items at the war vendors would be these commendation signets. The idea being that higher level items like Arthas tiers would give 10 signets, while you'd only get 1 signet for copper bars. Then those signets could be cashed in at specific NPCs for city reputations of your choice, or boxes containing things like Skullflame shields, Tiber's longswords, or just greens to disenchant. So you're caught up on how it used to work, but now we've got the Season of Discovery version to talk about. See, in SoD, the war effort really just exists to add specific items to the economy. Instead of the war effort unlocking Encourage like it used to, the NPCs are just going to be added November 21st, and then you can start dumping supplies for signets immediately. Then the war effort will end automatically on November 29th, though according to a news post, it'll still be possible to turn in items even after the war effort ends. So I do have an entire game plan that I want to talk about, but first we've got to talk about which items you should actually invest in. The first thing you want to do is check out the document below the video. All the items you need, all the signets you'll get per item as well is included in that document. One important thing to note is that the initial quest you get for every single turn-in will give 10 signets and a supply box as well. So ideally, you prioritize stockpiling enough for one of every turn-in of every single item to start with. After the first turn-in of each quest, though, you'll be getting the number of commendation signets listed in the document. So for example, 20 Runecloth bandages turns into 10 signets. So the ultimate goal is to stockpile as many signets as possible, then turn them in for the 30 signet boxes. Those boxes contain primarily the 55 to 60 greens, and those disenchant into Greater Eternal Essence, large brilliant shards. And even while it's not listed on Wowhead, you can get things like Tiber's longsword or Skullflame shields. So ultimately, most of our profit from the event will be from mailing greens from the boxes to a level 5 alt, and then that alt is going to disenchant all the greens for us. Right now, the Greater Eternal Essence is worth 13 gold each on my server, and the large brilliant shards are worth 3 gold each. We can safely assume both items are going to plummet in price, so I'm going with a very conservative estimate, something like 5 or 6 gold per box. On my server right now, the thorium ores to smelt cost about 2.5 gold for 10 signets, so you'd be basically breaking even per box with thorium. You've got to keep in mind that lower tier items though can be more profitable at times. For example, 20 mage reef bandages, 7 silver each. Yes, they only give 7 signets, but overall you're paying less per signet. Ultimately, your server is going to vary on every single item price, so you really want to do the math to find the really underpriced items to invest in. So with your investments made, you really want to have a strategy to maximize profit. I worked on my game plan with War Effort Veteran Deadly Raider Army, and our strategy is to log in immediately at 4 p.m. Eastern on November 21st. The reason being because there is a risk that once an item gets capped out, that might no longer be possible to turn it in like how it worked in the old days. To speed things up, I also plan to have everything stored in my mailbox to save time, and I'm also going to be using an auto-questing add-on to turn in the items really fast. Now, I'm not completely sold on an auto-questing add-on yet, so if you have any ideas in the comments, let me know. So with the war effort out of the way, it is really a good time to talk about some big raid investments you'll definitely want to make heading into Phase 6. First, an investment to counter all the people going completely crazy with the war effort. See, everybody's going to be generating these 55 to 60 greens like candy, so that means tons of greater eternal essence, tons of large brilliant shards. That means the prices of those items will absolutely plummet. So maybe the play is to not even do the war effort. The real play might be to just get the greater eternal essence, get the large brilliant shards at dirt cheap prices, and then in next you're really making a lot of money. Meanwhile, there is tons of profit potential from the new difficulty modes in AQ40. Top players, they're going to be gambling with their loot every single fight. They're going to be raising the stakes, so they're going to be drinking down protection potions like candy. That means it's a really good idea to stockpile herbs and stockpile potions. For example, greater protection potions like Arcane for Scarum. Or you could go with greater nature protection for Huhuran. Like Mastermind, for example, he stocked 21,000 elemental earth, and that's going to make him a ton of money. It's also not a bad idea to stockpile greater frost protection potions for Twin Imps. Also not a bad investment for the long term in Nax either. This is also the phase where Elixir of Poison Resistance is suddenly a must-have item for Vasidius. And while we talk Vasidius, melee are really going to want to stock up on frost oils, and you should be stocking up to profit from those melee. Also, this is the phase where limited invulnerability potions become insanely valuable on Sertura too. We also can't forget the nature protection gear that suddenly has a really big role in AQ40, especially on Huhuran. See, most of the items you can profit from are crafted gear pieces. We're talking recipes that require Cenarian Circle Wrap. The items used in the new crafts really vary from everything from enchanted leather, something that I would not recommend investing in because of all the enchantables with the war effort, but also things like Living Essence, Larval Acid, Ironweb Spider Silk, Cured Rugged Hide as well. Though one set of items that has really caught my eye is the Chimeric pieces. If we end up really needing nature resist, especially on some of these AQ40 fights, most players are just going to want to slap on the Chimera Hide greens. The vest, the gloves, the legs, the boots, 3 gold total for all those recipes right now. Soon the recipes themselves will become much more expensive, but flipping the recipes is just the tip of the iceberg. You can really pump out these greens yourself, especially if you stockpile the Chimera leather. When the supply runs out though, you can always farm the Chillwind Chimeras for the leathers yourself as well. The best part about farming these bad boys is you'll also be getting Chillwind Echoes as well, and those are going to sell like hotcakes when Naxxramas comes. No matter what you decide to do though, hopefully after this video, more than 14% of you decide to do some prep for Phase 6. Let me know in the comments if I convinced you to do any sort of Phase 6 prep. Personally, I am really excited and super busy with the Scarab Lord questline coming up. Either way though, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe or we're getting Wand Classic next. Then check out my most recent gold making guide to get rich fast.